Innovations, they're everywhere. Every year a new phone comes out, every year a new car with new features comes out, and it seems like every year a new company with this huge mission gets funded. Furthermore, over the past few decades, innovation has truly been flourishing. If you just think about it, the internet has fundamentally changed how we do things. Tesla has now accelerated the world towards a more sustainable future. And rockets are landing themselves now. Crazy. Innovation is flourishing. And we love when new things come out because they promise something better than what came before. That is, unless we're talking about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Then, yeah.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Nonetheless, innovations represent the current best version. But imagine a scenario where a huge innovation takes place, but then it's not implemented. For example, let's say SpaceX figures out how to make a reusable rocket, but then decides not to make it because it's not how things were always made before. Yeah, it makes no sense. Unfortunately, that's what's been happening in education for the last 100 years. And it's the same reason why a lot of kids fail calculus in high school, get put into lower level classes, and are made to feel less capable than they actually are. It's because we have a fundamentally better way of learning, but we're not implementing it. So today I want to introduce you to the idea of mastery learning by detailing its proven history, then go over how it's making a huge comeback, and finally conclude with an experiment. In order to understand mastery learning, we need to understand where it comes from. In 1919, there was this cool educator who wanted to change things, and his name was Carleton Washburn. Carleton proposed the Winnetka Plan, which was a plan for education in the Winnetka, Illinois school district, and it was the complete opposite to the educational model at the time. He proposed that students should be able to move at their own pace and be able to move through grade levels in specific subjects at their own rate. So a student could be advanced in math, but slower at writing. But the core tenet was that a student would move on once the concept was mastered. That's where mastery learning comes from, and it's why it's so wildly different and innovative. In the traditional educational model resides a fixed pace and variable understanding. A quarter, a trimester, a semester is how long you have to learn something, and then the class moves on, regardless of whether a student understands the subject or not. Whether a student got an A, C, or D on a test, all of them are told they need to move on. And that's what's always confused me about the education system, is because I remember being told quite frequently that everyone learns differently. But the entire education system is set up under the assumption that we all learn the same. On the other hand, mastery learning has a variable pace and high standards of understanding. So once you reach mastery, again, take as long as you need, you get to move on. Again, it makes sense logically. Someone wouldn't build a house with an 80% good foundation, then say, all right, let's bring in the framers. The house would collapse. The same thing happens with learning. Moreover, mastery learning not only makes sense logically, but has continually proven over and over to be fundamentally better. The Winnetka Plan was a huge success within the Winnetka School District, and students thrived. Mastery learning was proving to be a huge innovation, but there was a huge obstacle. Since the workbooks, textbooks, and teacher retraining were too expensive to implement nationwide, mastery learning was not feasibly scalable at the time. Through the years, mastery learning continued to be tested with pilot programs, researched and experimented with throughout the years, all of which, time after time, showing mastery learning to be more effective and fundamentally a better way of educating. Yet, despite these results, the reasons the Winnetka Plan didn't scale and the stubbornness of the education system to change caused mastery learning to fade again. It seemed like mastery learning would continue to tragically prove to be a fundamentally better way of educating people, but then not be put into mass-scale practice. Overall, a huge innovation with the potential to change education for the better would be forgotten. Then 2008 happened.
Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate.
No, not that. This. Khan Academy was founded, an online learning platform with the mission to provide a free world-class education to anyone, anywhere. And at the very heart of Khan Academy is mastery learning. And they accomplish this through having short videos, practice problems, and mastery learning tests. In addition, Khan Academy now has 17.7 million students per month. And honestly, I can see why. I personally accredit my ability to crush college calculus last year, all thanks to Khan Academy. However, beyond being popular just online, the team at Khan Academy wanted to show just how effective their type of learning is in a real classroom. The prestigious Los Altos School District in California obliged and gave them 4 math classes, comprised of 2 5th grade and 2 7th grade math classes. The 5th grade class was comprised of students that came mostly from affluent and college-educated parents and were already advanced for their grade in math. On the other hand, the 7th grade classes were comprised of students mostly from lower income and non-college educated parents and were in the slower paced math classes. Both grades, however, were to learn math using Khan Academy and having access to a teacher. Throughout the experiment, both students and teachers loved the entire process. Kids even started tutoring each other and working more collaboratively. Although the learning experience was much loved, the real success would be revealed through the upcoming standardized tests. Compared to the other non-Khan Academy 5th graders, the pilot program scored 5% higher. On the other hand, the 7th graders was where the real magic was. Compared to the year prior, the test average grew by 106%, meaning over twice as many kids were now at grade level. Some jumped 2 levels from basic to proficient, a few even jumped all the way to advanced. Clearly, mastery learning works and shows that a kid isn't slow, they just need to be taught differently. And for the first time, mastery learning is finally accessible to everyone thanks to Khan Academy. Now, I said there was going to be an experiment, and I intend on delivering on that promise right now. In an effort to build an MIT computer science degree with the feel of Khan Academy and give it out to the world for free, I mean, that's why this whole thing exists. I need to first get to the point mathematically where I can understand the MIT content. And if you look at the MIT computer science degree roadmap, that means you need to have Calculus 2 under your belt in order to start. And although I mentioned earlier that I did well in college calculus, I think I should also mention that before that, I got a D in calculus and a 26 in math on my ACT. Now, I feel obligated to share that to prove to you that I am not some sort of math genius, because that would totally nullify this entire experiment. Anyways, I have 2 options. I can either start on Calculus 2, which would make sense because I did pass college calculus, but I think that option would hurt me in the long run because once I started learning Calculus 2, I would probably end up memorizing a lot of it and not intuitively understanding it. Thus, later on, MIT would kick my butt. Now, option 2 is I actually go back and I use a mastery learning approach by going back in math and hunting down all my gaps, and then I build up to Calculus 2 from there. Now, option 2 sounds way more appealing to me, and from this video, the research actually supports it. But in order for this to work, I need to first establish a baseline. And I'm gonna use Khan Academy to do it. Now, although I've done well in calculus in the past, I don't think I'm gonna start there. And that's because if I'm being honest with myself, I feel like my math mastery ends at right around algebra. Because that's the last time I feel like I didn't have to memorize for a math test, and thus that's where I think my math mastery ends. Now, the rules of the game are, if I can't get over 100% after multiple attempts on this mastery course challenge, then I'm actually gonna move back a grade until I find that sweet spot. Now, vice versa, if I get over 100% on one of these mastery course challenges, then I'll move forward a grade, but I severely doubt that's gonna happen. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. So the results are in, and it looks like I'm starting at 7th grade math, which is honestly crazy to me. And I know I was planning on myself going back, but I didn't think I'd be going that far back. Now, I should mention there are some externalities and confounding variables in this experiment, such as retention and the low sample size of the questions being asked. But I think overall, the results of this experiment are pretty accurate. And I'm just personally surprised that I can't get 100% on a 7th grade math test. That's kind of crazy to me, but that's where we're starting. That's where the journey begins towards Calculus 2 mastery. And I'm really curious about a lot of things. First, I'm really curious on, as I get into the more complex math, will I be able to learn it faster because now I have my gaps filled in and I'm able to build a more intuitive understanding. I think it would be awesome to be able to just use math now that I have an intuitive understanding of it just for everyday problem solving. But what I'm most curious about is how other people will try a similar thing to this and see that they're actually capable of becoming an MIT caliber student. They just need to learn a different way. How many more kids would see that type of improvement? How many more kids would see similar results to the Los Altos 7th graders? Anyways, I'll be documenting this entire process on this YouTube channel, and my plan right now is to release videos bi-weekly at the very least, and there will be some other videos mixed in there as well. But yeah, phase 1 starts right now. Thanks for watching.